Hey internets, it's Jake from Mini Terrain Domain, and this is Scribes and Scrolls. Book 7. Oh, my eyes blurred and I couldn't read it, even though it's not changed in like a year. Book 7, Under a Red Moon. I looked up and I thought it said House of the Red Moon.
Amazing.
Anyway, Book 7, Under a Red Moon. This is chapter 94, Time Rushes In. And in just a couple of moments, we'll do a little bit of a recap, bring you up to speed, and continue on with our adventure. I'm going to keep the announcements short and sweet tonight. Tune in tomorrow night to catch us playing some Sky Metal Iron Gods, our D&D 5e campaign that happens every other Tuesday. That'll be at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. On Thursdays, you'll want to tune in at 8:30 p.m. Eastern for Welcome to Paradise Academy, our Kids on Bikes RPG game that is in its second season. We're going to be 5 episodes in, and we're still on the first day of school. But things are really, more and more interesting things are happening that are letting people know this is a weird place. So if you want to see what that weirdness is all about, join us on Thursdays. And then, of course, every Monday we're here at 8 p.m. Eastern for Scribes and Scrolls. You may hear some adult language. You may hear some graphic depictions of violence and other situations in this game. If that's something that bothers you, feel free to head on over to another stream. But do know that we, as players, have openly communicated with one another. We are aware of what our lines and veils are, and we have safety tools in place to keep one another safe at the gaming table. We encourage you to also use safety tools at your own games. Have a session 0, even if you're doing a one-shot. If you can, have a session 0, and make sure everybody's on the same page when it comes to lines and veils. That's going to ensure that everybody has a fun time around the table. If you look up in the corner over there above M's head, you will see our domain tomes. Those are the domain dice for this game. They are a way that you, the viewer, can have an impact on our game simply by subscribing, resubscribing, gifting subs, tipping $5, cheering 500 bits. All of those earn domain tomes that the players can use to re-roll. They can prevent a near-death situation. They can spend 5 of them to change the success level of any dice roll up or down 1 level. And as I said, all of those happen when you, the viewers, and sometimes the players, let's be honest, do any of those things that increase those domain tomes. The last thing I want to talk about is the fact that you matter. Your presence on this earth makes a difference, whether you believe it or not. It is true. We talk about this before every single game because I think it's that important. And often the next thing I say is, there's a lot of reasons why you might be struggling, and you don't have to struggle alone, and it's okay to not be okay. And those things are all still true. But what I've been neglecting to say is you don't have to be struggling. You don't have to be in trouble or at the bottom of the barrel or feeling like you're lost to talk to someone. Sometimes it just helps to have an impartial person that you can talk to. And I think that's a really good thing. When you have somebody that has no other connection to your life, that you can talk to, even if just to get things off your chest, or have an impartial person to bounce things off of. Yes, it's true. They can help you when you're struggling and when you're at low points, things like that. But I want to make sure to emphasize that you don't have to be struggling to talk to somebody, to find somebody to help you out. Regardless of what your situation is, if you decide you do want somebody to talk to and you're wondering, how do I find that person? It's pretty simple. Type !help in our chat, as I am going to do right now. And this information is appearing at the bottom of the screen as well if you're watching with us later on VOD. But a couple of URLs show up when I type !help. They are findahelpline.com or you can check out the growing list of resources at takethis.org. We encourage you to check out those websites, bookmark them, save them for yourself, save them for a friend, and remember, you matter. Cari, what time is it?
It's time to find some paths, bitches!
That's right. And find those paths. Paths? Find those paths.
Find those
paths. You did. As you maneuvered your way through the realm, the mysterious frozen mountain appearing in the desert. The mountain through which you traveled to find a artifact called the Gift of the Frost Heart. Something coded very specifically to Teera and her brother Cain. Insofar as the guardian of the Frost Heart was none other than the imprisoned spirit of Dirkhead, the father of the Frost Hearts. However, not the actual blood father, as we learned, of Teera. A little bit of a bearskin rug pulled out from underneath Teera's feet as she learned that Dirkhead and Melina are not her actual biological parents. Nonetheless, working together, you all were able to gain the artifact. Dirkhead has said that he would provide watch over you while you rest up and heal up. He also told you to make sure you grab whatever you can find in the chest behind his throne, and you grab some pretty nifty objects in the process. And of course, in a meta level, important for the players, you all leveled up to level 10. Some of the things that have been going on in the world, of course, you know that in your travels you have a little under 3 weeks to get to the Gravelands along the edge of the lake to find this shrine or temple of the Black Lotus, whatever it is, that appears only during a blood moon every 10 years. And you've been biding your time as you begin to make your way there. In the process, of course, running into some members of the roving wolf tribe of orcs from Teera's past in Erglin, in the region called Warmouth, finding that her old tribal companion Roniker is attempting to gain this item, the Frost Heart, in order to resurrect the deceased former tribal leader. Regardless, though, he appears to be trying to gather forces against the rising whispering tyrant Tar-Baphon. That was when Yeltha came to you and told you about, hey, here's this artifact. We definitely don't want Roniker to get a hold of this, so you need to go do it. And so that's what you've been doing. And that's kind of where we left off. You're all chilling literally in the frigid tomb.
That's funny.
As you've had ample time to rest, unless there's been any special healing that anybody has done. You would have gotten the HP increase from your level up, as well as your level times your con modifier in hit points as recovery. And I'm going to turn it over to you if there's anything you guys want to talk about or do while you're in the midst of this rest before you leave.
So, Teera, turns out your mother's the big bad of this whole thing, huh?
Yeah, I suppose so.
She sort of ensorcelled your dad and made him an undead icy Hulk.
Yeah, I mean, and he's not really even my dad, I suppose. So, kind of a lot of moving parts right now, Flip.
How does that make you feel?
Why the fuck do you care?
Look, I have a heart. It's just buried deep beyond some really dark Icarus material. And at some point, maybe maybe you might be useful. I mean, I haven't seen it yet, but if you're focused on the task at hand and you've shared your feelings, because as I've said to Marda, you got to be open to accept. You know, if you're not open, then it's just all that hurts, just battering at your walls, battering at your walls. It's how would I say? It's like a leaky vial of acid. It's pawing at your foundations, and eventually it's gonna crumble. And ideally, it doesn't crumble while I'm in the line of fire of where I might need your assistance.
Flip. All due respect and all, I don't really feel like talking about it right now. There's a good amount of upheaval, and I'm still processing it, all right?
No, that's totally understandable. You know, sometimes people take time to process their feelings. Other times, and he's gonna glance pointedly at Marta. They push it deep, 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 so deep down. It's almost like they don't even remember what they're angry about. They just have a general feeling of unhappiness and repression.
Teera has been like, not that it needs to be sharpened, but she is sharpening almost as like a comfort to herself, has been sharpening this sword. And she's kind of, as he's going off on this diatribe, she has kind of stopped. And then as he finishes his pushing it deep, 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 deep down monologue, she's just goes like especially hard, and just like a couple sparks may or may not fly. And she would just be like, yeah, like that, I guess. I'm gonna go sit over there for a bit. And she would essentially pick up her stuff, go 30 feet away, 20 feet away. I forgot how big this cavern is, and sit and keep doing the same thing, and clearly
The
wants to be
cavern
left
was over
alone.
100 feet long.
She goes 50 feet away and keeps doing the exact same thing.
If Flip, you really know how to push people's buttons without dying. I think that is something commendable.
Yeah, I'm the problem for others is that it's really twofold as I see it. One, there's usually a kernel of truth, and it sort of like burrows into their brain, and it's like, huh, well, he's not entirely incorrect. The second thing is I'm eminently delightful, and in their heart of hearts, nobody really wants to fight me.
You
And
are
then I guess
betting on the fact that people come to their senses or reach into their heart of hearts before they stab you with a dagger. That is quite the trust
yes.
that you have.
Yes, well, really, that's why I talk for so long, because I need those gears to turn, and in some cases, and he sort of gestures subtly toward Teera, the wheels take longer to turn than others.
It is so good that she is too far away to hear you. Oh my god. Teera, before we eventually leave, wants to say one more thing to the ghost of her not dad, please. I'm just gonna save my place now.
So, Marta, do you have anything you want to talk about? Because I'm here for you. You want to chat about the things that are weighing you down.
Hmm.
You know,
I
dead sisters.
am sure you are. Right, yeah, you know, dead sisters, all of that. Why was no one at your dinner party, Flip?
Oh, it's a great question. Entirely possible. The rampant betrayal by my family. Because my father was he was a goblin, a king, obviously, because I'm a goblin prince, as you know. And he was he liked ladies, he liked the men, he liked the people in between. Focused on food for himself, not so much for other people. So when he was deposed, me and my siblings kind of went away in the world. And then there was that time that the goblin tribe found me, and then they murdered me in my sleep, and then I got reincarnated into a human. That was a time. And then, um, I was murdered again by a different group of goblins, and reincarnated back into a goblin. It's really been quite the trip. It could be any of those things, but sometimes you see yourself as your own family. I mean, it would have been cool to see like a mirror while y'all were like your dead family, and I could like stare at myself, and I could like pluck my lute, or wink at myself sexily.
Yeah. Marda just.
I have a question,
Marda...
and I have a question, Em, and I want you to be honest. Has Marda been listening this whole time, or did Marda kind of tune out about?
No, she's listening very intently, because this is the first time Flip has ever said anything, true or not, about his history. So Marda is enraptured by Flip.
I feel like if a diligent soul wanted to, they could probably find recorded evidence of Flip's journey and some of the stories he's told about.
Been a lot of snippets.
So, Marta, it's just, for me, my journey has been a challenge, but I find that wherever I go, I bring a certain joy. And, as I've been doing, I don't know, how long have I known you people? Like a week? Repeatedly saving your asses. Whether it's, I don't know how you survived before I got here, but, it's a certain lightness, not feeling weighed down. It's, you gotta just...
No, I appreciate that. I don't know if you're telling the truth, but I appreciate the story nonetheless. I will take you at your word that what has happened happened. And on the note of being light and open, she stands, she like dusts off any like snow residue from her coat, and my sister died because I killed her. She nods in terms of like, if we're going to drop truths, it does feel a lot lighter, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's definitely a truth, Fireball. So let me ask you then. Have you been carrying that around for all this time, and it was really until you were confronted by a semi-real, semi-illusory manifestation of your past deeds that you yourself were confronted by this activity?
Sure. Yeah. I think that it's just one of those things that one of those regrets that will always follow you. You always confront it. You always see what you have done. I just figured you shared truths with me, I shared truths with you. We are
we're all
even,
dropping
no?
We're all dropping metaphysical pounds. I mean, I'm like 13 pounds. I can't really afford to lose any weight, but metaphysically, I feel much lighter.
Mm-hmm. It is good. It is good to feel this.
Yeah. So, let me ask you. You regret? Do you? Because there's truths, and then there's like how we see the truth, and then from a certain point of view, things are true. So you said you have regrets. Do you have regrets about killing your sister? Or do you have regrets about having to kill your sister?
I regret that she wasn't fast enough to kill me first.
Mm, yes. Yes.
Lip has
It-
imperceptibly put on glasses.
yes.
Yeah.
It's almost a manifestation of one's own internal self-loathing that has rolled itself into the pain and regret of your sister's death.
You could say that, I
I
suppose.
I just did.
Mm-hmm. You could,
Mm.
and you did say that.
Yes, yes, both of those things happened. So so let's take it a little further. Um, would you say that we've discussed in passing, in a very pained and, you know, sort of pulling teeth style way that, you're had a dark past which you're sort of walking away from, and you're cognizant not to look in the mirror because the future is forward, not back, even as the path may wind. But would would you say that your journey away from the dark was catalyzed in this moment of, like, the
No.
no.
You know,
Was
I would say that it was many years before I eventually turned away. And it was for a very selfish reason. I mean, I got here in the end, so I guess that is all that matters.
I mean, yeah, I guess. So would you say that then it was the what do we call it? The sibling side? I don't know what the word is. There's a technical term. I'd have to look in my book, but I'm not taking notes right now because I think it's important to be open and share. Um,
Hmm.
would you say that was just a stop on your descent down to the depths, and then when you hit the bottom, you bounce back when you realized?
No, no, I don't think I hit the bottom at all. Well,
Oh,
I wasn't on the path descent down at that time, but it was kind of more of a cliff. It's like
mm,
stairs and then a cliff.
mm. Yes, this is fascinating. I find it particularly unique. No, wait a second. It's not particularly unique. It's wholly unique. No, something's either unique or it's not unique. So I find it unique that you describe this situation as a stairs that ended in a cliff when now you have the power to walk on air.
You should write that in your book. That is a good line.
I
Very
mean,
poetic.
pretty much everything I say would be written in a book. I'd get carpal tunnel syndrome if I wrote down everything that was book worthy that I say.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure. I'm sure. And so, what are you looking for moving forward? You talk about the path forward and looking ahead, and that's is the only thing that matters. And you talk about your past and all the reincarnations and the death and the life and all of that. What do you want?
Hmm.
It's
Why bully? And she points to Teera.
it's not bullying. So I'm going to answer your second question first. It's not bullying. It's recognizing that, look, I have known you for like 3 weeks, okay? But as you realize, I am a master of understanding the personal conditions of creatures.
Hmm.
And what I recognize is that Tira's story is one of trauma and protection. She had to flee when she was very young, And in many ways, she was stuck in that moment. She had to build a metaphorical armor around herself at a very young age to ensure that she survived long enough to find her brother. And, of course, growing up in a tribe of orcs, you have to recognize that there was some element of armor needed, given that orcs are typically predisposed to being hardier than humans. Not in every case, it's not a hard and fast rule, but typically they're hardier than humans. So you expect that she would have had to fight twice as hard. And she's built up this metaphorical this metaphorical suit of armor over the years, and it's thickened over time. The conversations that she's had with Cain, she's lifted the visor a little bit, I think. But what Teera wants... Sorry, I feel like I'm monologuing. Did you have something that you wanted to say?
You talk about the armor, but you are trying to find chinks in it through insults and being demeaning. You really think that is the best way to break through?
Teera has known much pain in her life. But what I can tell you is this. In the coming days or weeks or months, who's to say? Teera will face an inflection point. She will have to make a decision on who she is. And what she'll know in the intervening time is that I've tried to batter a hole in her armor. But when the time comes, when the time is right, I will find my way into that armor, and she will know that she can rely on me. And at that moment, in that time, she will recognize, perhaps for the first time, that someone has seen who she is and is okay with it.
I understand that that is your intention. I hope that she also sees that. I think that you are walking a very fine line. She may see you as nothing more than someone to beat her while she is down.
Now, I know it's hard to believe, given my slight nature, but I know that exercise of a muscle only provides gains when it starts to hurt. And Teera's heart is well healed over. And it's only used to one type of exercise. I hope that by conditioning her, that she will come to know the truth. But no one's perfect, not even me. So I have to believe that she will understand when the time is right. I'm here for a reason. What that reason might be, hard to say. Maybe it's helping her overcome that trauma and recognize that she's more than a sword. And maybe I'm here to help you unravel the regret that you feel about your sister. I don't know. I can't tell you how I got here or why I appeared in that tree. All I know is I did, and I am who I am.
I think Marda nods, and I think she smiles a little bit. I actually enjoyed this conversation, Flip, which I never thought that I would say.
In many
You
ways,
have been very insightful.
Once you're open, just crawl in there and start growing under your skin.
Right. Okay.
And wrecked it.
She stands and she holds on to her her staff.
Oh, guys.
This entire time, I imagine, not too far away, Kane and Cleandra have been sitting quietly. Cleandra still maintaining that elven form, but listening with a childlike rapt attention as Kane appears to be telling stories of various hunting expeditions and bounty hunting expeditions and things like that. And even if you pick up snippets of their conversation, you might even recognize some of the stories are relatively recently adventures that you've all had together. You stay resting as long as you wish, and I believe, Teera, you wanted to find and speak with the ghost of Dirkhead before you decide to leave.
Yeah. So like Teera doesn't really like understand like how to summon him or if he can be summoned or like what the deal is. So she would just kind of wander up by like that. Is there like did the throne stay material? Like
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, the throne was a throne of ice and bone that sat on the dais, and yeah, it's still solid.
So I guess she would go up to the throne, and she would kneel and like put her hands out, kind of like she did when she was with the orcs, and because Dirkhead had relationships with the orcs too, so he would get it and hands on top of the blade and like hold it out and kneel for a second and then just glance up and say, wherever you are.
When you glance up, he's sitting there in the throne.
Yeah. And then as she does, she says, it was as dull as a butter knife.
It's been a very long time since it's been used. And when it was used, you won't believe. Well, you've seen it. What happens when you use a sharpened blade against chunks of ice and rock?
Yeah. So, I don't think I'll probably ever see you again.
If you see me again, it means you're dead.
So I hope it's not, at least for a while. I just want you to know that I don't know how to feel about you. I mean, on one hand, you murdered my parents. And I know it wasn't really you and you were bewitched and all that, but I don't have a real mum and dad now, thanks to you. And then again, on the other hand, you were really the only father I ever knew. And you taught me a lot, and I think as much as you could, you loved me. And you kept me from, well, you're helping me now. So, as much as I can, I guess I'll try to love you back. But it's hard, I hope you understand that. A very strange set of circumstances.
You don't owe me any of your love. I killed your parents, it's true. And I cared for you as my own daughter. And I did care for you. I was not bewitched by your mother in caring for you while you were growing up. But I only had 10 years to influence you. You're wrong when you say you didn't have anybody to be your father. From what I understand, Garm of the Roving Wolves was a father to you far longer than I even was.
He was. I guess in not having a father, I guess I had a great many fathers. After the fact, as it were.
Garm loved you as if you were one of his own daughters. Garm loved you more than his own blood. And Garm is relying on you to allow him to cross over in the same way you've done for me.
Well, what do I do? I have this thing, and Teera would hold out the frost heart, and she would say, "This is the only way to make sure. Destroying this thing is the only way to make sure that Ronica doesn't get what he wants. But I can't destroy it. I don't know how. I don't know what to do." I mean, if you have any fatherly advice, I guess now would be the time. I don't know what to do.
Whenever you've not known what to do, you've always put your mind to figuring out what needs to be done. When you were sent out into the night all those years ago with your brother, you were 11 years old. Your brother, barely half your age. Yet somehow, all these years later, you're still here, both of you. Until that point, you had no idea how to care for your brother, or how to care for yourself out in the wilderness. Beyond a few snares and survival tricks I taught you. And all those years with the Roving Wolves taught you even more. At a certain point, you no longer needed to be taught the things to do. You started to intuit them yourself. I don't have the answer for you, Teera. I was an unwitting guardian of this artifact. Your mother used me in death as she did in life. I know only what it's capable of doing. Magics like this are far beyond my comprehension. But I know this. You don't have to do it alone. And he kind of looks past you and looks around at
And
Kane and Leandra,
Teera looks over her shoulder in the same
Flip.
direction.
Marda. You've got quite the ragtag band of travellers here. And I think you put your heads together and you'll figure it out. But if you want Garm to pass on, you cannot give that to that orc whelp Ronica.
No, I know that much. I'll have to take it from my frosty hands, as it were. Anyway, thank you. Crossover well, or whatever.
It's the last great mystery for me. What waits on the other side?
And Teera would say, would probably say either in Jotun or Orcish, whatever is his kind of. I guess he taught her a little bit of Orcish, so she would give some kind of a colloquialism that is essentially a farewell and good luck kind of blessing almost in Orcish.
And he would give you what is the expected response to that. And then you see his spectral form sort of shift on the throne. And his hand glides over part of the carved ice armrest. There's this sort of carved skull on the armrest of the chair, and he slides his two spectral fingers over and into the eye sockets of that skull. And when he does so, behind the throne on the wall, you see where the frozen ice is, begins to just start running with sheets of water as it starts to melt. And it just... And what was moments before solid ice turns into a brief waterfall and parts like curtains, revealing stone and a passageway behind it.
Oh my god, how very Skyrim of you.
Oh, of course. I was going
Teera
to do the Skyrim exit. And then...
Teera would kind of take a big breath and just take a second with that.
And then he suddenly stands. And he's looking past you into an empty space about 20 feet away, off to the side where nobody else is. Marda, you don't even need to make any kind of a check for this. You feel a presence in this space.
Mm-hmm.
You feel the presence that you've felt anytime you cast your spells, anytime you have done anything in service or devotion to the Lady of the Grave. You feel the presence of Pharasma. Not the direct presence, but more like if it's a strong wind outside and somebody opens a window and you feel the wind whipping in through that window, or if somebody's baking something and you can catch a whiff of that. It's not the exact thing, it's the sense of it, and you sense Pharasma's presence in this place. Dirked begins to walk towards that section of the room where he was looking. And then he stops. And at this point, enough between the ice wall opening up and just there's a palpable sense to everybody in this room that something has changed. The air has become heavier. Kane and Calandra have stopped talking. Kane stands up and holds the hammer to his side as if looking for some threat. Dirked turns and he looks at you. He looks past you at Kane and he gives a nod. He looks at you. He gives you a nod. And then it's as if a wind has just blown across a snowdrift, and the spectral form of Dirked turns into a million billion crystals of ice that seem to just suddenly, and that sensation in the room and that sense of Pharasma's presence, it's almost like a vacuum. I would say felt primarily by you, Marda. This you almost didn't realize how oppressive this sensation was until it's gone. And I would imagine, at least to a certain extent, Marda, if you were standing, you falter a bit. Maybe almost as if something just knocked you slightly off balance. It's not like a big thing, just a subtle. And Dirkhead is gone.
Teera would go over to Kane, and she would put a hand on his shoulder, and she'd be like, "Are you all right?"
Yeah. I'll be honest. I didn't really know Dad that well. I barely remember from when we were kids. I said Uncle Boy a long time ago.
Yep, I understand that. Well, and Teera kind of like looks over at the opening behind the throne and be like, "Are we ready to hit the trail? If Flip is right and time is different out there, I think the less time we spend in here, the better." Flip, there's some weird enchantment in the cavern. I can't hear you. Your lips are moving, but the damnedest thing. Oh.
An expectation of some weird shit out there, Teera.
Oh, yeah. That's what you said. You said, like, time.
Emphasis.
Yeah, okay. Well. Marda, are you ready? Feeling good? Fighting fit?
I'm feeling cold. We should get out of here.
Cleandra, speaking of cold, how are you?
I'm a cloud dragon. At the higher altitudes, the temperatures are far below what you would be able to stand. I am fine.
It wasn't a fucking contest. Let's head out, I guess, then. And Teera would grab her shit and start to leave the cavern.
You know that traversing through the all of the rooms of this tomb, every time you moved from one room to another, you descended further and further. So you know you're probably at least 100 or more feet below ground. Not accounting for any magical effects that may have happened as well. What you find as you pass through this doorway behind the throne is you find a passage that curves around to the left slowly and continuously, while also rising at a decent, probably about a 30 to 40 degree incline.
Oh, wow.
It's stone, and you're able to you don't have any problems with ice or traction or anything like that. It is a steep enough incline that some of you may feel a little bit of the strain as you're climbing upwards. But it takes you in a slow, lazy spiral upwards. And then you see a change in the light ahead. About as you come around the curve, it's not light per se coming in, or at least not daylight like you might have expected. What you see is a very dark arch, speckled with the points of lights that are the night sky. And the edges of this exit from the mountain seem to be partially illuminated by pale moonlight. It is nighttime outside of the cave.
And the exit is like right there. It's like
About 30, 40 feet ahead of you, yeah.
okay. Teera smiles and kind of looks over at whoever is near her and just says, "I never thought I'd be so happy to just see the sky."
As you say that, and you step out into the open air, Flip, Kane, and Cleandra watch as Teera, you step out into that space, and your entire body arcs backward, and you drop to your knees. Your arms suddenly spread out as if you're being pulled outward. And before you can even react to that, simultaneously, Marda, you feel as if something massive and powerful has slammed into the small of your back. But rather than launching you forward at that same moment that it slams you forward, it holds you. So you just feel this. It's as if you had a rope tied around your waist and were tossed off a cliff and suddenly stopped with that sudden jerk of the rope. You feel almost as if your back has broken. As far as you can tell, it hasn't. But the stop was so sudden that you almost wouldn't be surprised if you lost all sensation below the waist.
Oh,
Teera, you feel as if you are burning from the inside out.
Oh, okay.
Teera, you hear loudly in your head, "There you are. I've lost you. I couldn't feel you. I was trapped in the darkness of a void. But now, you're here, and I am stronger." As the pit fiend of Vaxiel, who has been your dark passenger, you only just now realize you haven't heard from him in a while.
No, I haven't.
And you're remembering what Flip said about the passage of time being different inside versus outside. As you feel time rushing in. And for a Vaxiel, he is making every attempt to break free from his entrapment within you. As if, in the space of a few moments, he is attempting each of the days that should have passed. Now, I'm not going to make either of us roll 15 checks because we've already done it. I actually made several checks for Avaxiel, and Teera, Cari, has made several checks off stream because really it was a total of like 30 fortitude saves between the two of them. In this moment, in fact, as you look, Flip, at Teera, with her arms still held back like this, she's on her knees. It looks as if her skin has micro fissures all across it, like the parched floor of a desert or a dry wasteland. But from within each of those cracks, it looks as if molten rock is trying to burst free. Teera, you feel yourself battling, your spirit fighting against Avaxiels. It's... I don't know. The best way I can think of this is within the span of moments, it's like Gandalf fighting the Balrog. You are
Oh, Jesus
in
Christ.
this sort of space where it's as if you are in the midst of along the very edges of the abyss itself, fighting
God.
against this pit fiend, and you're holding your own against him. But he manages to get in a few good swipes and throws you off. You feel with each one of those attacks as he grows stronger and stronger. And you feel yourself growing weaker. The net culmination of all of the saves, for 15 saves for each of them, Avaxiel failed 1 total save.
You're fucking kidding me, dude.
Teera failed 5 total saves. What this means is in this moment, as the culmination of this internal battle that happens within seconds externally, just as you're seeing Teera looking as if her skin is going to shatter and she's just going to explode into a fireball, Teera, you fall forward onto your face.
Oof.
The smell of sulfur and brimstone rising from Teera as you see smoke, plumes of smoke rising up from Tira's body. Teera, you are currently sickened 5,
Ooh.
and you are drained 5.
What does that mean?
Wanted to double check something because
Well, Jake is double checking fucking something. Check us out on teespring.com. At teespring.com, we have all kinds of great designs, including ones for your TTRPG settings like Rogue, Barbarian, Wizard, and so many more. We have all kinds of great designs for our Paradise game. You can get them on t-shirts, tank tops, hoodies, mugs, stickers, and so much more. Check us out on teespring.com or else. Mini Terrain Domain. Oh, God. I was like, ooh, I'm going to make some checks while I'm at work. That's kind of fun. And then not fun. Not fun at all.
So the way this works, because the drain condition causes you to lose hit points, and your maximum hit point level drops while you're in the drain condition.
Oh, God.
The way this works normally is when you get hit with 1 level of drained, you lose your level times your drain condition and hit points. So for your first fail, you lose 10 hit points to your total and your max. For your second fail, you lose 20. For your third fail, you lose 30. For your fourth, 40.
60.
And for your fifth, 50. Now, if my math is correct,
150.
As you collapse to the ground,
wow,
both your hit point total and your maximum hit point total are dropped by 150 points.
So, in case anybody's keeping track at home, my current hit point max is 28 hit points, and my current hit points total is 2.
Now, normally, I would expect Marda to see what is happening and be able to react to that. However, at the same time this is happening, Marda, the reason you feel this sudden lurch and that you felt what could be construed as a paralysis, and Flip, again, seeing this happen, this is all happening around you simultaneously. Just imagine this scene playing out with one of those, the camera's rotating around the scene while the scene's rotating the other way, and it's happening so fast you can barely react to anything, as the handle of the blood axe, which was actually...
Oh, you're fucking kidding me!
...was attached to the blood axe by the grandfather tree. Vines and branches have sprang forth from the blood axe handle, and not only are they wrapping themselves around Marda, drilling down into the soil, there are places where the smaller vines seem to almost be threading their way through Marda's skin. as the blood
Ooh.
axe is quickly wrapping you in a lattice work of vines. Marda. Nope, it's not Cthulhu, but every once in a while we stray into Cthulhu territory. You hear a voice in your mind, Marda. I wish I could do this effect, so I will describe it so you all can envision it. Imagine the voice of the blood axe, this deep, resonating voice. But simultaneously, you are hearing Vernushka's voice, as if they are speaking with one voice. Marda, grass hands. What makes you think you have the strength to bear Blood Razor?
Haven't I already proved myself once? You're going to make me do this again.
That was nothing.
She says, more straining.
That was nothing. Not just a true test. I needed you to bring me out of that place. You feel at that point the voice shifts to more blood axe. And now you feel it shifting more towards Vernushka. I need you to bear the axe. Bring it to my brother. Use the heart. Use the Black Lotus. Or use your magic. Bring him back to life and put this axe in his hands.
Well.
Let me think. Please hold. Marta looks. I am guessing that I do not have the ability to refuse this. Well, it was demand. But let's just, for fun, what would happen if I do not?
The longer you go without fulfilling this command, the more challenged you will become. And you feel the voice shift more to Blood Axe. Blood Razor. It is only the Orc Vernushka that is holding me back from devouring your soul. And then it shifts more to Vernushka. I can only wait so long. If you're not going to fulfill this command, I will let Blood Razor consume you.
Well, then I suppose you do not need an answer for me.
I would like you to make a... I'm going to let you decide, because this is going to be dependent on if you are... whether or not you... what your intentions are as you are saying this to the Blood Axe, keeping in mind it has a mental connection to you but can't necessarily completely read your mind. It's either going to be... Excuse me. It's either going to be a deception or it's going to be a diplomacy check.
Okay. I think it's...
You don't have to tell me which it is.
Boy.
Do I just roll?
Yeah, just roll, and whichever stat you're going to use, that's what you're going to add to it.
Just
Okay.
tell him the total. Wow. This
It
is like a
gives-
double, triple blind
It's sort
experiment.
of a...
Ooh, I
It's
rolled
sort
a
of...
20.
Okay, a nat 20.
Not 20, so I have 37.
Wow.
Okay. Let me just check here.
Damn, son. It's quite the total.
I feel like this was finally the good roll to roll a 20, and usually I just roll it
Yeah.
in like...
So,
Perception check.
Yeah.
whether you are telling the truth with intention to fulfill this request, knowing you've been given little choice, or you have made it clear that you're not going to resist, and maybe you have plans to do something else down the road, it seems to be enough to assuage both Bloodraiser and Vornushka as you feel the weight of the vines, the pressure. You feel the smaller vines unthreading themselves between your skin and flesh. You will take 15 points of piercing damage from the vines that have pierced your flesh.
Owie.
As merely seconds after, I would say in all, less than 30 seconds have transpired.
Oof.
And for Flip, Kane, and Cleandra, you saw Teera appear to almost burst into flame, immolate from the inside, and then drop face down on the ground, smoldering, at the same time that Marda was suddenly wrapped in vines that held tight, and then let go as she was dropped bleeding, probably dropping to your knees. Kane immediately rushes over to Teera. And as this change happens, and nothing happens to Cleandra, Kane, or Flip, other than you do feel a sudden surge of... What's the word I'm looking for? When you get really dizzy all of a sudden. Vertigo.
Vertigo.
You feel a sudden surge of vertigo as you feel time come rushing in. You feel just over 2 weeks of time come slamming into you. And that's where we're going to take our break.
Okay. Well.
So, Cari didn't know that this part was going to happen, just knew that I had her make certain checks. Now, normally you would have fought a Vaxial every single day when you wake up after a rest. They would have been one-offs. But
Yeah.
you went into a place where time is moving differently, and as you came out, the effects of time rushing in...
Caught up with us.
Yep. Just as well, it could have adversely affected Vaxial. Unfortunately for you, Vaxial is very strong, and you feel like any day now he might be able to break free.
Jesus.
And then right before we cut out for the break, I will say a quick note on the letting M roll and not tell me. I'm going to start doing that more with all of you.
Ooh.
It's actually something I picked up from Matt Mercer just watching some of the Critical Role stuff. It's designed in some way for when players are insight checking one another. So that you don't reveal that you're lying or telling the truth, whatever you're trying to hide. He'll call for a deception or a persuasion check, but don't say what it is. That way you know whether or not you've beat it, but you don't know that whether they were lying or telling the truth. I just wanted to peel the curtain back a little bit so you understood the logic behind that. With that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take about a 10-minute break, and we'll be back to finish out this session. See you on the other side. Teera has collapsed in a smoldering pile of somehow what seems to be unburned flesh, though it looked like she was about to immolate a moment ago. And Marda has dropped to her knees, bleeding from several small puncture wounds all over her skin, where these vines were completely enshrouding her for about 30 seconds. Kane has immediately rushed over to Teera, almost afraid to touch her. Flip, what are you doing?
Flip is just observing. I guess he will make an Arcana check to see if he can figure out what's going on.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. 22.
22?
Ooh.
I think that would be high enough contextually, with the knowledge you already had of the time dilation taking place, and possibly being able, I think with that being able to suss out and remember Teera having this interaction with the pit fiend, that you might be able to surmise that she just lost, or nearly lost, a struggle of wills between the pit fiend and herself.
Okay.
What about you, Marda?
Marda slowly is getting up from these punctured wounds, and immediately looks around to become, more aware of her surroundings, and I think would immediately see Teera smoking, and would run over to her.
As you run over, Kane has, by this point, has sort of tentatively reached out to touch to make sure you weren't hot to the touch. Teera's skin is very warm, as if she has an immense fever. Kane has pulled Teera over onto her back and is sort of cradling her as he is trying to shake Teera lightly, trying to wake her up. I don't know what's happened. She just dropped. Teera, wake up. Wake up.
Can Marda make some kind of check to see what kind of conditions she might be under?
I would start with a medicine check, maybe.
Okay. $36.
Oh
yeah.
my god. That'll do.
I am a master in medicine.
She's an MRI machine.
Yes.
Go, Marda.
Doing a quick assessment, having not necessarily seen exactly what happened to Teera, you've seen enough injuries and treated enough injuries that to your eyes, this most closely approximates somebody who has been struck either by natural or arcane lightning, where it leaves very little external signs of what it's done, but internally, she's been very toasted. And you would, with that check, know that there was definitely a magical, this was caused by a magical effect, and that would give you enough to know that she's, you don't know, like, I'm not going to put like mechanical numbers on it, but you know that not only is she on the threshold of death, that the distance between her life and that threshold has been drastically reduced in this state. Teera has been weakened beyond a state which you have ever seen her.
Yeah. Just mechanically, I am wondering though, because I have some abilities that will reduce different conditions.
Mechanically, she has drained 5 and sickened 5.
If you had to guess, you would say Teera is drained 5 and sickened 5.
Okay.
Is there any check that Flip can make that would give him some insight into how to separate this pit fiend from Teera?
I'm going to say that would be an occult check.
An occult check, you say?
And it's going to be a high DC because it's related to an entity that's from Old Thessalonia. You're dealing with things that are over 10,000 years old.
Oh, okay. I'll use a tome. 29.
Did you say you were using a tome?
Yeah.
I will say with a 29 that you don't know what exactly this is. You've not dealt with this kind of thing. You don't know offhand immediately what to do, but you feel like there's a potential that you could search out the answer for this. But that's not quite high enough for you to be able to know exactly what you need to do.
Thanks.
I'm also looking through to see what abilities that Cleandra has. Did you end up having anything, Marda?
Yes, I do. I have a couple. I have unusual treatment, which is because I'm a master in medicine, I can reduce drained condition. I can reduce the drained condition if I succeed at a DC 30 check.
What is that called?
Unusual treatment.
Seems like Marta gives Teera a hangover cure of some sort, some random shit in a blender.
Okay. Is that a like a class, a feat, or a
spell? Yes, it's a skill feat. Skill feat. Yeah.
Cool. So you need to make a DC 30 medicine check. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. What's your medicine skill modifier?
Plus 20.
Oh.
Okay, you got a little bit of leeway there.
Yeah. I also have Paragon Battle Medicine, which I can use my battle medicine. Okay, that kind of is the same thing. Okay, I'm just gonna roll.
Okay.
And then we'll see.
You can do it.
I'm going to re-roll and see how it goes. I only have to roll a 10. So
You can do it, Em. I trust you. Trust you implicitly.
I rolled a 2, so we'll see this time. Okay, all right. I rolled an 11, so that's a 31.
That'll do her.
So what does that just reduce the drain condition by 1?
By 1 because I didn't critically succeed.
Okay.
So it reduces it by 1.
Okay.
So that will increase your maximum hit points
Okay.
to...
Do I get the bottom one? Do I get 50 back?
Hold on 1 second.
Okay,
I
so
have to hear the
I can only
spasm.
do unusual treatment once per day, but I could also try and do battle medicine, which is an action, which I could also then try and reduce the drain by another 1.
My god. Teera just wants to be able to fucking walk, which has gotta be a bitch right now. So...
Because I have oh my god, there's so many, like, with medicine skills, there's so many that interweave. So because I have both battle medicine, godless healing, and paragon battle medicine, I can reduce the drain by 1 by only using the battle medicine. It is
Wow.
insane.
It's like the opposite of a skill tree. Like, you can't have any of these. Oh my goodness.
So I have to attempt a medicine check with the same DC as for treat wounds.
Treat Wounds has...
Can Marta use that healer's kit for a plus of some sort?
Treat Wounds has some specific DCs associated with it. It doesn't say what your increase would be. Alright. You know what it does when it... Alright, screw it. I'm just going to make a call. Yes, you will get the 50 hit points back.
Teera almost lurches.
No, let me rephrase that.
Okay.
You get the 50 max HP back.
Right.
You do not heal 50 hit points.
I do not heal. Teera, like, almost lurches as she's in Kane's lap.
Which causes him to just hold you tighter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what would the DC for treat wounds?
What is your... So you can choose... You're attempting to heal her now? Is that what you're doing?
This is still reducing
Drained?
the drained by 1. By another 1.
How is it worded? It says...
Okay, so I use battle medicine, which is attempt a medicine check with the same DC as for treat wounds. And then treat wounds is...
So Treat Wounds has a base trained level. Hold on. Oh, wait. Sorry. Has a base DC of 15. When you're attempting to heal, you can roll at higher. If you have the required level of proficiency, you can roll at a higher DC to try to recover more hit. But the base is
which I don't think
15.
Okay, so that would be then 15, because I don't think that applies because I'm using my Paragon Battle Medicine to do the drained condition.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So wait, though, but because I have a plus 20 in medicine, unless I critically fail.
Don't say it out loud. That's not going to happen.
I did not critically fail. I got a 16.
Good. Okay.
On the die, which
Oh
is
my
the
God.
36.
So that's 40 back? Jacob?
Wait. So you succeeded, dropped her down another, so drain 3.
I'm at
Yes,
drain
you have
3.
40 more max HP left.
Okay,
So you're
Teera...
moving the goalpost on
Yeah, good.
Teera's death threshold without actually healing her.
Okay, and then.
Hell yeah, Marda, let's
snap.
go.
And
Go ahead. I just remembered that Cain has some healing properties as well.
And then I'm going to cast Heal on Teera. For an additional 31 points.
My god. And that is just healing my current HP, right?
Yep.
So go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so at this point, like, as Marda has been, like, blasting again and again and again, kind of, the first one, like I said, Teera kind of just lurched in Kane's lap, and then the second time, almost visibly, color kind of starts to return to her face and to her body. And then when Marda kind of hits her with the last, like, regeneration of actual HP, she kind of, like, she lurches again and, like, sits up and doesn't like full on gasp, but, like, takes a big deep breath and, like, looks around and still doesn't, like, sit up right away, but is kind of, like, frantically sort of looking around at her friends and just be like, it just like trying to figure out where they are, kind of like, it's very disorienting and weird. It's like, where are we? How long was I out?
You just dropped. You look like you were gonna explode. Literally.
Yeah.
And then you just collapsed.
Holy shit. And Teera is kind of like, doesn't remember for a second all of what happened, but then it's like it kind of like suddenly all hits her again in like a very rapid replay. And then she kind of like really slowly sits up and just kind of sits for a second, like with her hands on her knees, and is just like looking around and looks over at Flip and would be like, well, are you happy now? This is quite the comeuppance for me, I guess, after what happened at the dam. If you want to say I told you so. Now would be the time. And Teera, like, turns over and pukes because she's very sickened.
Again, without going into too much detail, I will just say that it is a black in Icarus. It smells like sulfur.
Mm-hmm.
Do you respond to that at all, Flip?
Flip is gonna say, why put out loud what we all both already know?
Well, and Teera like tries to stand up, and I imagine like can't for a second. Like stands up and then kind of stumbles
Cain
back.
is physically holding you down.
We need to go.
Hold on.
We need to go now.
Hold on. And Cain is looking you over in a way that maybe might surprise somebody who's never seen him do this. Marda, you would recognize that Cain is actually like checking for broken bones and other signs. He's applying medicinal healing. Like treat wounds.
Neat.
I'll basically say it's kind of like he's taking salves and bandages from your healer's kit while you're right there. But he does something unexpected. As part of the healing, in an area that looks like there might be some heavy bruising, Kane very quickly makes an incision, causing you 7 points of slashing damage.
Oh God.
However,
Ow!
however, what he did, he then makes his treat wounds check, and if he makes it, which he did, it's a critical success. So you receive 4d8 of healing. So
Oh my God.
you get 18 points. So the net of that is you get 11 points of healing as Kane applies his I think it's a feat, skill feat called Risky Surgery.
Oh hell yeah. Okay.
And finally, when I just want to make sure, spellcasters, that I'm reading this right. Excuse me. Heal is a level 1 spell, but if you cast it at a higher level, that's a +1 heightened for each level higher. Correct? So at level 6, that would be 6d8 of healing. Correct?
Yeah, and if you put extra actions into it, it does
Additional
more
things.
on top of that. Yeah. So like at level 5, it'll do 4d8 plus 32.
I just lost where the spell is.
That
Hold on.
structure is very, very similar to rage. Not that it matters, but it's the same. Like every level of rage you increase, it's very similar.
So I just want to make sure, because I don't do these kind of spells often. It says, yeah, I don't see that where it says the plus amounts to it though.
So if you like use 2 actions to cast it, it does that additional 8 at level 1 and 16 at level 2.
I got it. So doing it with 2 actions at level 6 would be 68 plus 48 healing, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Cleandra is going to lean over you, Teera. And her hand, as she places it on your forehead, begins to glow. And you see, from your perspective, actually anybody looking at her, you see her draconic form sort of almost spectrally superimposed as she's pouring draconic magic in. That's 4, 7, 14, 2, 3, 4, 35 plus 48, so
83.
83. As you
So that's
feel
actually
warming energy pouring into you.
And is this max hit points or regular hit points?
This is just affecting your existing hit points.
So I am now at my current maximum hit points, which is still below my usual max hit points, but I am currently technically at full health.
Yeah, because you're at drained 3 now.
Correct.
So you're down,
And
what,
sickened
60
5.
total?
Right. Yeah.
So at least for your
I
current
am-
state, you are feeling much better.
Mhm. Oh, thank you all. We definitely need to go. It's been several days, and like Teera is like acutely aware of how many days it's been. Because in her kind of battle with Avaxiel, she, I imagine, became acutely aware of how many days it's been.
Teera, it feels like you spent 15 days battling Avaxiel.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you know how much time has passed.
Right.
It
Right.
feels like you battled for 2 weeks.
We need to go. We need to go.
Kane kind of helps you to your feet. And then looks over at Marda. You're hurt.
I'm fine. Don't worry about me.
Are you sure? You
She
put a lot of energy into healing Teera. And you're over here bleeding yourself. You see just a small flash of silver as he's still holding his dagger in his hands, and he just goes, could try to help you too.
save it. Really, it is. There's only minor. I have lots of healing reserves left.
Well, we should all be able to get some rest on the airship. And then he kind of looks around and says, if it's still there, where did you put it, Flip? You all would realize from going into the original entrance of the mountain that you had entered more or less on the south, just slightly southwestern edge of this mountain. You are on the north side of this frozen mountain. So you're halfway around the mountain. And you left the ship, basically, you landed it outside the entrance to the mountain.
Well, it was generally over there.
We'll have to walk a bit. But he's right, it was that way. Cleandra starts to wander to the south around the edge of the mountain.
Teera is following Cleandra, and her gait is like weird. Like she's very clearly trying to like have some dignity, but like her legs are stiff. It really like looks uncomfortable for her to walk right now. It's like somebody would be walking if they were carrying something really heavy.
Seeing that you're more or less managing, Kane is going to move forward with Cleandra to scout ahead. Checking. Okay, I'm gonna have Kane roll a survival. That's a 24, and Cleandra has a. Okay. Cleandra rolls a 29. It's probably about 30 minutes of walking to get around the perimeter of this. You're in a weird space where the coldness of the mountain meets the warmth of the desert, and it weirdly gives the ground a little more stability than just walking on sand, and more traction than if you were walking on ice. It takes you about 30 minutes as you're kind of rounding, when suddenly you see both Cleandra and Kane stop and hold up their hands like this.
I stop immediately. And I draw my sword.
The two of them look. Cleandra and Kane, they kind of mutter amongst themselves, and then Kane moves quietly back towards the rest of you. We can see the ship just around that spur, and there's a little place where a spur of the foot of the mountain juts out.
Well, what are we waiting for then?
There's somebody camping at the base of the ship. There's a campfire at the top, and what looks like somebody camped out there. Cleandra says you did not leave anybody to guard the ship. Oh,
Is it just one person or is it many people? Did you see?
it looks like there's only one person.
Then
Well,
why are we cowering back here?
It looks
my
like
question
it's only
exactly.
one person. Just saying, we can proceed. If it is one person, we greatly outnumber them.
You know what happens when you just say, and Flip is going to start walking forward.
Flip, 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 flip. And Teera just kind of shrugs at Kane.
Cleander starts moving forward, and Keen just gives kind of a... You see him give that kind of look as Flip is walking away, just sort of a...
Why, yada.
To the moon, Flip, one of these days.
One of these days, Flip.
Not this day.
Lord. Oh my god. Teera and Kane are grumbling amongst themselves as I walk behind Flip.
As you all begin heading, or continue heading towards the ship, as you get closer, you can see that there's a small fire. There's a tarp that's been strung up from the side of the ship, creating a bit of cover in addition to what's under the hovering ship. And there's what looks to be a bedroll and a pack, and you can see, just barely illuminated in the light of the fire, you can see there is a solitary figure leaning against their pack next to the fire. You see the firelight illuminating the face of an orc. A familiar looking face. It is Yeltha.
Jesus. Oi.
Yeah.
Patience was never really your virtue, I suppose, was it?
She looks over. You see her actually grab at she'd probably grab at a bow. And in the space of you saying that, she's knocked an arrow, but you definitely caught her off guard. And then she lowers slightly, doesn't unknock the arrow, and responds back and says, I've been waiting here for 2 weeks. That seems very patient, if you ask me.
Well, we got it.
I'd hope so if you were coming out here. You know, I tried to go in after you went in. But it was very quickly when I got to that room with all of those floating discs of ice. I was going to attempt it myself. When I turned around and left, when I came outside, several hours had gone by. So I knew there was something arcane happening. Decided to wait for you. You clearly found another way out.
Yeah. We went through, all the way through.
So you got it.
Yes.
Can I see it?
No.
How do I know you actually got it then?
Yaltha, I got it. And I want to keep it from you and Ronica.
That was the whole purpose in telling you about this, was so that you could keep it from Ronica.
Exactly. So what's the difference if I keep it from you as well?
I want to know that you actually got it.
And Teera, like, reaches into her satchel and shows it.
You can see in the blue glow of this heart the twin reflections in Yeltha's eyes. What are you going to do with it?
We're going to take it with us. And after that, it's none of your business.
So, just like that, and you're gone once again.
Listen, I just want to see to it that Garm's body is, it's taken care of.
Veronica knows you have that heart. He's not going to give up. He's not going to give up Garm's body.
So what do you suggest then, since you're such the puppet master here?
You and your friends. You have bigger things to worry about, yes?
I suppose. Yeah.
Let me take it and go north.
Alright.
You can take it into the land of the Mammoth Lords.
Well, what happened about your vow that you so fervently kept? So much so that we are in this position to begin with. You cannot betray Ronica, right? What about that? What's keeping you from taking it and going right back to him?
Been out here for 2 weeks away from Ronica. Waiting for you. Hoping to see your success. I had hoped that would be enough to show that I could be trusted, but I know that there's a lot of history between us. You have a lot of reason not to trust me. So it doesn't surprise me that you don't want to give it up.
Tell me this then. Why do you want to keep it away from Ronica? I know why I want to keep it away from him. What about you?
You think I didn't love Garm too? He was the greatest chief that the Roving Wolves had ever seen. Despite how some of us turned out, all of us are competent warriors because of Garm's teachings. It's why the Roving Wolves were one of the most formidable tribes in the north. I don't want to see him desecrated.
All right. And can I do like a some kind of a perception check or something to see if I think she's telling the truth?
You can. Okay.
All right. That's a dirty 20.
You've known Yeltha for a long time. You spent a number of years with the Roving Wolves, better part of 15 years, growing up alongside Yeltha, Ronica, and Rhaegar. And one thing that you learned about Yeltha, something that she's quite good at, when it comes to Ronica, Rhaegar, and some of the other orc men, is using her cleverness and her words to get her own way. She will say anything and do anything to get to the outcome she wants. She is attempting to weave lies with her words. And in the glow of this frost heart, seeing those reflected images of the heart, you see very subtly, as her eyes are flicking to Marda, Flip,
Oh my god.
Cain, and Cleandra. You see that she is trying to maintain an upper hand. She's trying to come out on top. And she's gauging that always present warrior's assessment of the fight. That's, you were trained to always think that the fight was moments away from breaking out. Yeltha is bullshitting you completely, and
wow.
She has no intention of doing what she says. You don't know exactly what she wants to do with it, but
I guess I would reach down. I am just gonna kind of take a little bit of liberty here, and I'm gonna assume Marda is to my right. I would reach down and I would hand the heart to Marda. I would just hand it to her for just a second. And if she takes it from me, then I give it to her. And then I would kind of walk towards Yaltha. And I would just kind of like... Teera's exhausted. Like, she is just not in the mood for bullshit. And she would go up and she'd be like, you know what I think, Yaltha? I think you did love Gom. But you didn't love him the way I loved him. I loved him because he was pretty much my father. You loved him for what he could maybe do for you. And I think that's still what you want. You don't want Ronica to have the power, you want it. You'll take the heart, you'll bring him back yourself. Sneaky shit.
Any pretense she had of trying to deceive you, you just see it fall away. She moves her position just subtly from that of trying to present a non-threatening to that sort of coiled and ready to strike if needs be. I told him it was risky. Once you had it in your hands, you were going to want to keep it for yourself. She's not giving it up!
Oh, fuck. Oh, no!
In a semicircle around within about 40 or 50 feet of the Zephyr Hawk, you feel the ground rumble and sand begins to go
oh, Jesus Christ.
As you see first, closest, two bullets burst out of the ground atop their backs, wearing some kind of face mask to protect them from breathing in sand, are Ronica and Rhaegar. And behind them are 6 more orcs atop 6 more bullets. There are 9 counting Yeltha orcs with 8 bullets in a semicircle around you.
It's like the fucking Navy SEALs.
Gary
has
something?
a thing.
As they jump out of the ground, Flip's eyes sort of go dark, and the what's the weather like?
It's night,
Night.
clear skies, desert cool
So-
plus frozen mountain cool.
As the moon glows in the dark as a silver disc in the darkness, clouds begin to roll in from the mountains, and there's a crackle of lightning in them as Flip begins to just ever so slightly levitate off the ground. And his fingertips crackle with an electrical energy that arcs from one to another, like he was flipping a coin between his fingertips, and then he flexes his fingers and he says, "Let's go."
Oh my
And that's
god.
where we're going to end tonight's
Yes,
session.
it has to be. What a fucking boss, dude. Let's fucking go. Oh my god. Thank you, Marda, by the way. Teera needs her hands free. So I hope you got a pouch.
Glad I could help. The halflings
Yay.
are small. She can run away.
I thought
Wow.
maybe there might be some conversation with the roving wolves, but Flip seems to want to talk with Violence.
Yeah.
I thought having 8 orcs mounted on 8 bullets surrounding you might sufficiently put some fear into you all, but apparently not.
I mean, it didn't for Flip. There's maybe sufficient fear in all of us.
I also, admittedly, even though 2 sources of healing and one of the bigger sources of healing came from one of the NPCs, I knew you were going to be severely hurt from the sudden surge of Axial trying to break free. I didn't realize you were going to be so thoroughly, if not completely, but so thoroughly healed almost immediately. There was a part of me that was like, okay, Teera's going to be walking on eggshells for a few days while she's recovered. I mean, you're still at drain 3 and your hit point max is down. And
I'm
just
sick in
FYI,
5. I can't eat.
outside of magical healing, it takes a full 8 hours of rest to reduce the drained level.
Right. We gotta find a temple or something. Teera needs to find religion.
And
I think that's what needs to happen
It's
here.
a good thing you're heading to some kind of a temple.
Oh, thank God.
Also, just
Perfect.
to fill in the blank, and sort of for the first time since we shifted to Pathfinder, put a finite time on it again. With the surge in time and everything else that's been going on, where you before had nearly 3 weeks until you needed to be to the shrine, you now have 5 days.
Oof.
And the shrine is 4.5 days travel.
Ooh.
Unless you get a really favorable wind. We'll call it 4 days of travel. But it's going to be just like when, way back when you Marda first told you needed to get to the grandfather tree by the solstice, and you had just enough time to get there.
Like 4 hours to spare or something.
Yeah, you got there like,
oh my God.
It was like solstice was going to end at midnight, and you guys got there at 8 p.m. and...
Wait! Hold the solstice!
So, yeah.
Holy
and
shit.
Contrary to what Tamiko in chat is saying, I'm not trying to TPK.
No.
I'm trying to challenge. I now have 10th level characters, and apparently an X-Men goblin in the form of Storm, so...
Jesus Christ. The plot thickens, ever thickening with Flip.
Yeah.
Ever flippening, if you will.
Actually, we had some interesting Flip lore drops tonight, too.
Yeah, no shit. It's
I think it was
Yeah.
Flip. You've vaguely hinted at certain aspects of your past without ever getting. I think if I'm not mistaken, the only thing you've mentioned is that you're royalty, because I feel like you've said that a lot.
And we all just assumed you were lying. You might still be, but
Trob 19.
I
says,
remember.
"Flip
I remember
Thunderbard."
him saying something about his family betraying him. I think he has maybe slipped that once. But I didn't realize it was like a fucking
almost like
murder.
that's-
I thought they just like cheated him at cards or some
It's
shit.
almost like that's an unintentional theme of this campaign: family betrayals.
Family betraying. Wow. And
So, all
two
right.
of us are the betrayee, and my God.
Well, Another great
shit.
session.
Holy
I
shit.
loved just. I spent literally like the first half hour just sitting back listening to you guys talk amongst yourselves. I love that. Chances for characters to interact and stuff like that.
Oh, and fucking we got Marda lore too.
Yeah.
Who knew Marda murdered
Yeah.
her sister?
I mean, I did, but
Jesus. Crumbs.
Yeah, Jake did.
yeah,
well,
sorry.
I did.
Oh my gosh, this is the first time I'm ever hearing this information.
What?
I am shocked. I am
I
shook.
saw the eyebrows go up. I wasn't entirely sure you knew, but
Tell me, I've got to know before we end, Cari.
yeah.
Was there any part of you that considered giving Yeltha the heart?
100%. I was going to because my plan was to give it to her, send her on her merry way to the fucking north, and then go take Garm's body like ourselves quickly. I didn't realize there was 5 days left at that point. That would have altered the plan. But yeah, 100%. If I hadn't made that perception check, I totally
Now,
would
so then the follow-up question to that is specifically for Flip and Marda, for Em and Gary, would you have allowed Teera to hand over the heart? Marda's like, no.
absolutely.
I was just curious.
There would be some shenaniganry to get that heart back.
It's always challenging to try to pull something like that, and
Yeah.
I think sometimes those types of things can be the hardest to not metagame.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to see if you were gonna hand it over to her.
Oh yeah.
I had different outcomes planned, but obviously I had this one planned as well. So we'll see what happens next Monday in
Is
session
Bob? Do you still have
95.
Bob on speed dial? Bob the dragon? Just out of curiosity.
No,
when
there
it-
was a glitch with that.
We went in. No, well, no, I can still do it. It's just we went a little bit of a different direction today.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Good.
I
Who
wonder.
needs a dragon?
I'm gonna have to look into this because Flip seems to be doing some kind of storm stuff, and you do have a cloud dragon on your side.
Oh,
So I'm wondering if there's
God.
any tag team stuff that can take place here.
If Pokemon has taught me anything, it's that thunderstorms strengthen cloud.
I'll take your word for it. Pokemon is not something I fully.
Oh my God!
I mean,
you
I have
never will.
knowledge of it. I had kids, but Pokemon hit the scene was sort of was during that time I was in the army or right after. So I missed certain pop culture initiations, and that's why there's certain things I just was late to the game on. And so anyway, I'll take your word for it. Thank you, as always, to everybody who joined us tonight, or if you're joining us later in the VODs, we appreciate you. Maybe you like to hang out quietly in the chat and observe or lurk. We appreciate that. Thank you to Buzz Lightyear, rated in, joined us half hour ago. And as always, Cari securing at least one domain tome for herself.
You're welcome, me.
So, but yeah, thank you, everybody. We do greatly appreciate. We hope you enjoy the games. We love sharing our adventures with you. Remember, tomorrow night, that's Tuesday, at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, or if you're watching on VOD, you should be able to just hop over to the Sky Metal Iron Gods playlist. I've lost track right now. I don't remember if we're at session 10, I think 9, 10, something like that.
That right? Holy smokes.
Well, we had that whole thing where we got so far and then there was a complete TPK and we had to basically start over with new characters. So, yeah. But yeah, tune in for that. And of course, we hope to see you on Thursdays for Welcome to Paradise Academy, Our Kids on Bikes RPG. Huge thank you, as always, to these incredible players. Gary, Cari, and Em, without whom this would just be me talking to myself for a couple hours. So with that, we're going to go ahead and end this stream the same way we end every stream, and you can say it with me if you want.